Imagine walking into your office on a Monday morning, coffee in hand, ready to tackle the week ahead. But when you sit down at your desk, there's an email waiting for you. Your job has been automated, not outsourced to another country. Not eliminated due to budget cuts, replaced by artificial intelligence. This isn't science fiction. It's happening right now, and according to recent studies by Goldman Sachs and McKinsey, up to 40% of office jobs could be automated by AI within the next decade. That's nearly half of all white-collar workers potentially facing job displacement. But here's what makes this different from previous technological revolutions. AI isn't just replacing manual labor or repetitive factory work. It's coming for jobs we thought were safe. The accountants, the paralegals, the customer service representatives, the data analysts, even the middle managers. Today we're going to dive deep into how this transformation will impact three distinct groups in our society. The corporations who are implementing this technology, the working-class employees trying to adapt and survive, and the lower-class communities who may face the harshest consequences of all. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what's coming, but what it means for you, your job, and the future of work itself. Let's get into it. First, we need to understand just how massive this shift really is. When we talk about 40% of office jobs being replaced, we're not talking about a gradual change over 50 years. We're talking about a disruption that's already begun and will accelerate dramatically over the next 5 to 10 years. Right now, AI can write marketing copy, analyze financial statements, draft legal documents, generate code, create visual designs, and handle customer inquiries. And it's getting better every single day. The AI that exists today is the worst it will ever be. Think about that for a moment. Let's break down which jobs are most at risk. Customer service representatives face a staggering 90% chance of automation. Why? Because AI chatbots can now handle complex conversations, understand context, and resolve issues 24 hours a day without breaks, benefits, or salaries. Data entry clerks and bookkeepers are looking at around 85% automation risk. AI can process invoices, categorize expenses, and reconcile accounts faster and more accurately than any human ever could. Paralegals and legal assistants are at about 70% risk. AI can review contracts, conduct legal research, and identify relevant case precedents in seconds rather than hours. Market research analysts, loan officers, insurance underwriters, and administrative assistants all face automation rates between 60 and 80%. Even creative fields aren't immune. Graphic designers, copywriters, and video editors are seeing AI tools that can produce professional quality work in minutes. The difference is that creative professionals might adapt by using AI as a tool rather than being replaced entirely. But make no mistake, fewer humans will be needed to produce the same amount of output. Now, some optimists will tell you that AI will create as many jobs as it destroys. And yes, there will be new jobs: AI trainers, prompt engineers, automation specialists. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those new jobs require technical skills that most displaced workers don't have. And there won't be enough of these new positions to absorb 40% of the office workforce. Let's talk about the winners first. The corporations implementing AI aren't doing this to be cruel. They're doing it because the economic incentives are impossible to ignore. Imagine you're a CEO. You can pay a customer service representative $50,000 a year, plus benefits, which brings the real cost to around $70,000. Or you can implement an AI system that costs $10,000 a year and handles the work of 10 employees. That's not a difficult decision from a shareholder value perspective. It's a $700,000 annual savings for just 10 positions. Multiply that across an entire company, and you're looking at tens or hundreds of millions in reduced labor costs. In a competitive market, companies that don't adopt AI will be undercut by those that do. It's a race to the bottom, and the finish line is maximum automation. Major corporations are already moving aggressively. IBM announced it's pausing hiring for roles that could be replaced by AI, potentially affecting around 7,800 positions. Dropbox laid off 500 employees and explicitly stated it was due to AI efficiencies. Duolingo reduced its contractor workforce by 10% in favor of AI translation tools. But it's not just about cost cutting. AI offers corporations something even more valuable than cheap labor: consistency and scalability. An AI doesn't have bad days. It doesn't call in sick. It doesn't need training. It doesn't sue for discrimination. It doesn't unionize. And it can scale from handling 10 customers to 10,000 customers with minimal additional cost. From a corporate perspective, this is the greatest productivity breakthrough since the assembly line. Companies that successfully implement AI will see profit margins expand dramatically. Their stock prices will soar. Their executives will be celebrated as innovative leaders. The corporate winners will be the tech companies, building the AI systems themselves: OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Anthropic. And the early adopters who implement these systems before their competitors. These companies will experience a golden age of profitability. But there's a darker side to this corporate story that many executives are ignoring. When you automate away 40% of office jobs, you also automate away 40% of consumers. Those displaced workers won't be buying as many products and services. The economy is circular. Workers are also customers. Remove too many workers, and you eventually undermine your own customer base. Some forward-thinking economists are already warning about this. But in the short term, the incentive for any individual company is to automate regardless of the collective economic consequences. It's a classic tragedy of the commons scenario. Now let's talk about the people who will bear the brunt of this transformation. The working-class office employees who thought they had stable, middle-class careers. These are people who did everything right. They went to college, maybe even graduate school. They took on student debt. They built specialized skills in accounting, marketing, human resources, or project management. They worked their way up from entry-level positions, and now they're facing the possibility that their expertise is becoming obsolete. The psychological impact cannot be overstated. For many people, their career is tied to their identity and self-worth. When you've spent 15 years becoming an expert in financial analysis, and then AI can do your job better in 15 seconds, it's not just an economic crisis, it's an existential one. Let's talk about Sarah, a composite character based on real stories I've encountered. Sarah is 42 years old. She's a marketing manager at a mid-sized company. She makes $80,000 a year. She has 2 kids, a mortgage, and car payments. Last month, her company implemented an AI marketing platform that can generate campaign ideas, write ad copy, analyze performance data, and optimize spending across channels. The AI doesn't replace Sarah entirely, at least not yet, But it does mean the company doesn't need 3 marketing managers anymore. 1 is enough, working alongside the AI. Sarah keeps her job. Her 2 colleagues don't. But Sarah knows she's next if the AI continues to improve. She's 42 and trying to figure out how to completely retool her career while managing all her existing responsibilities. This is the reality for millions of workers. The most painful part is the speed of change. In previous economic transitions, like the shift from agriculture to manufacturing or manufacturing to services, workers had a generation to adapt. Parents could tell their children to pursue different careers. There was time. This time, there isn't. The skills that were valuable 5 years ago are becoming obsolete today. The workers being displaced are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. These are people at the peak of their careers, with decades of work ahead of them. They can't wait for retirement. They need solutions now. Retraining is the standard answer given by politicians and economists. Just learn to code, they say. Become an AI specialist. But this is unrealistic for most people. Not everyone has the aptitude or interest in technical fields, and even if they do, they're competing against younger workers without family obligations and against a flood of other displaced workers, all trying to enter the same limited fields. The working-class office worker is facing a perfect storm. Automation from below as AI improves, competition from above as displaced senior workers take lower-level positions to stay employed, and an education system that prepared them for careers that are now vanishing. Many will adapt. Some will find new roles working alongside AI rather than being replaced by it. Some will transition into fields that require human touch, like counseling, nursing, or skilled trades. But the uncomfortable truth is that many won't successfully transition. They'll face underemployment, taking jobs well below their previous income level, or unemployment, cycling through temporary positions without the stability they once had. If the working class faces disruption, the lower class faces potential catastrophe. And here's why this matters more than most people realize. When we talk about office jobs being automated, we're primarily discussing middle-class positions. But middle-class unemployment has cascading effects that flow downward through the economy. Think about it this way. When a marketing manager making $80,000 gets laid off, they don't just lose their income. They stop eating at restaurants as frequently. They postpone buying a new car. They cancel their gym membership. They stop hiring a house cleaner. They cut back on everything. Each of those spending cuts affects lower-income service workers. The server at the restaurant gets fewer hours. The car salesperson misses their commission. The gym loses revenue and can't hire another employee. The house cleaner loses a client. This ripple effect compounds as more and more office workers are displaced. Service sector jobs that seemed safe from automation suddenly disappear, not because they're automated, but because there aren't enough customers to sustain them. Lower-income workers also face direct threats from AI. Fast food restaurants are implementing AI ordering systems. Retail stores are expanding self-checkouts and AI-powered inventory management. Delivery services are testing autonomous vehicles. Warehouses are deploying robots for picking and packing. The combination of direct automation and reduced consumer spending creates a pincer movement that threatens to hollow out economic opportunities for those already struggling. Here's another factor that doesn't get discussed enough. Many lower-income workers were already facing precarity before AI. They're working gig economy jobs without benefits, living paycheck to paycheck, one medical emergency away from financial crisis. They don't have the savings to weather extended unemployment. They don't have the resources to pay for retraining programs. They don't have the social networks that lead to employment opportunities. When AI-driven unemployment hits, these workers have no safety net. And our current social support systems are not designed for a crisis of this scale. Unemployment benefits run out after 6 months in most states. Welfare programs have work requirements that become impossible to meet when jobs don't exist. Food assistance programs are already stretched thin. There's also a geographic dimension to this crisis. Office jobs are concentrated in cities and suburban areas. When these jobs disappear, the local economies that depend on those workers will collapse. We could see entire communities facing economic depression as their tax base evaporates, local businesses close, and property values plummet. Rural and lower-income urban areas that are already struggling will be hit hardest. These communities lack the economic diversity to absorb shocks. They're the places that never fully recovered from the last economic crisis, and now they're facing another one. Here's where we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. AI isn't just changing jobs. It's fundamentally reshaping the distribution of wealth and power in society. Throughout most of the 20th century, economic growth was broadly shared. When companies became more productive, they needed more workers. Those workers gained bargaining power and captured a share of the increased profits through higher wages. The middle class expanded. Inequality, while present, was relatively stable. AI breaks this pattern. Now, productivity growth doesn't require more workers, it requires fewer workers. The gains from increased productivity flow almost entirely to capital rather than labor, to the shareholders and executives rather than the employees. We're already seeing this in the data. Corporate profits as a share of GDP are at historic highs. Worker compensation as a share of GDP is declining. The wealth gap between the top 1% and everyone else is accelerating. AI will turbocharge this trend. The companies that own and control AI systems will capture enormous value. The workers who are displaced by AI will capture very little. We're moving toward an economy where a small technical and managerial class works alongside AI to generate massive wealth, while a large segment of the population struggles to find economic purpose. Some people call this the hollowing out of the middle class. Others call it the barbell economy, with a small group at the top, a large group at the bottom, and very little in between. This isn't just an economic issue. It's a social stability issue. Societies with extreme inequality tend to be unstable, with higher crime rates, lower social trust, political extremism, and sometimes violence. When a large portion of the population feels they have no stake in the system and no path to prosperity, democratic institutions come under stress. So what do we do? Is this future inevitable, or are there paths forward that lead to better outcomes? The truth is, the technology isn't the problem. AI has enormous potential to improve our lives, eliminate drudgery, and free humans to pursue more meaningful work. The problem is how we're choosing to implement it within our current economic system. Some proposals are gaining traction. Universal basic income is the most discussed. The idea is simple. If AI is generating enormous wealth, but displacing workers, tax the AI productivity gains and redistribute them as a basic income to all citizens. This would maintain consumer spending, provide a safety net, and give people the freedom to retrain, start businesses, or pursue education without the fear of destitution. Alaska already has a version of this with its oil dividend. Every resident receives an annual payment from oil revenues. It's popular across the political spectrum and hasn't created the disincentive to work that critics predicted. Others propose job guarantees where the government becomes the employer of last resort, offering work in infrastructure, caregiving, environmental restoration, and community services. This maintains the dignity and structure of employment while ensuring everyone who wants to work can find a job. There are proposals for radical reductions in work hours. If AI can do 40% of the work, maybe humans should work 40% less. A 24-hour work week with the same pay, enabled by productivity gains, more time for family, community, creativity, and rest. Some suggest worker ownership models, where employees own shares in the companies they work for and benefit from AI-driven productivity gains. If workers are also shareholders, automation doesn't threaten them. It enriches them. There are educational reforms being proposed. Shift from training workers for specific jobs to teaching adaptability, creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. Skills that complement AI rather than compete with it. But here's the challenge. All of these solutions require political will and coordinated action. They require us to prioritize human well-being over short-term corporate profits. They require imagining an economy that isn't based on the assumption that everyone must sell their labor to survive. We're at a crossroads. The AI revolution is not something happening to us. It's something we're choosing through our policies, our investments, and our priorities. One path leads to a future where AI benefits are concentrated among a small elite, where economic insecurity becomes the norm for most people, where inequality reaches levels incompatible with social cohesion. This is the path we're currently on. The other path leads to a future where AI's productivity gains are broadly shared, where people have the security to adapt and thrive, where technology serves human flourishing rather than just shareholder returns. This path is still available, but the window is closing. The corporations will make their choice based on economics. They'll automate because it's profitable. It's not a moral judgment. It's just how our current system works. The question is what choice we'll make as a society. Will we demand different policies? Will we support leaders who prioritize worker protections and wealth redistribution? Will we experiment with new economic models? Or will we accept the disruption as inevitable and hope we personally land on the winning side? For the working-class employee worried about their job, the best individual advice is to become as irreplaceable as possible. Develop skills that require human judgment, creativity, emotional intelligence, or physical presence. Build relationships and networks. Stay adaptable. Consider fields like healthcare, skilled trades, education, and counseling, where human touch remains essential. For those in the lower class facing compounding challenges, community and collective action become even more critical. Mutual aid networks, tenant unions, worker cooperatives. These grassroots structures can provide support and advocacy when institutions fail. 40% of office jobs replaced by AI. It sounds abstract until it's your job, your colleague, your family member. Then it becomes very real, very fast. The AI revolution is not a distant future scenario. It's happening now. The decisions we make in the next few years will determine whether this transformation leads to widespread prosperity or widespread precarity. Understanding the stakes is the first step. The corporations will benefit from increased efficiency and profits. The working class will face disruption and the need to adapt rapidly. The lower class will bear the harshest consequences unless we build robust support systems. None of this is predetermined. Technology creates possibilities. Humans make choices. We can choose an economy that works for everyone, or we can choose one that works for a few. But we have to choose. Doing nothing is itself a choice, and it's a choice that favors those who already have power and wealth. The future of work is being written right now. The question is, who gets to hold the pen? Will it be the tech executives and shareholders, or will it be all of us, collectively demanding a say in how this powerful technology shapes our lives? The answer to that question will define the next generation. I hope we choose wisely. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the technologies and trends shaping our future. Drop a comment below. Are you worried about AI taking your job? What solutions do you think could work? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.